major auto brands in auto racing. You know, in America, I think sometimes we take for granted the Volkswagen brand, but they are a major global player. Next year, WRC with the Polo, but they do a lot more than that. For example, single make series around the globe, the Scirocco Cup, which I'd love to see in America. The F3 engine program. F3, as we all know, is a stepping stone for a lot of young racers, and Volkswagen is in there with their engine program, competing against the likes of Mercedes-Benz, Nissan, and Honda. And it's no coincidence we're looking at a Red Bull branded F3 car, because this is a stepping stone to the big leagues. Beyond that, Dakar. Volkswagen has been a mainstay there, multiple wins, again proving production technology like diesel here. And they've done cycle things like build a fleet of Golf four-wheel drive cars to compete at the Nürburgring 24. But now it all comes back to WRC and the other support programs. And when we come back, we'll talk to Jost about the Volkswagen brand in racing and how they play among the Volkswagen group of the other brands in racing. Porsche, Audi, Bentley, Ducati, SKODA, Seat, whatever. So joining us through the magic of Skype is Jost Capito, who heads up, he's the director of motorsport over at Volkswagen. How are you, Jost? Thank you.
I'm good, thank you, Leo. How are you in the US?
The US is wonderful, and where are you exactly right now?
I'm in the moment, I am at the headquarters of Volkswagen MotorSport, that is in Germany, and it is in Hanover, quite in the north of Germany. It's about 1 hour drive to the Volkswagen headquarters in Wolfsburg.
I don't want this to be a big formal interview, but to give some context, you're back there at Volkswagen, and let's start by defining, frankly, your role at Volkswagen Motorsport and how it fits with Group Volkswagen and their motorsport kind of involvement.
Yeah, I'm in charge of the motorsport for the Volkswagen brand. And you know, we have also, as the Volkswagen Group, we have quite a lot of companies who are very big in motorsports. It's Porsche, it's Audi, yeah, it's Seat, it's SKODA, but since recently it's Bentley as well, who just announced they're going GT3, right. And it's MAN with truck racing, and it's even Ducati with MotoGP and Superbike. So it's a very wide range. And we have Mr. Wolfgang Dörheimer, who is in charge in the board of Group Motorsport. So we have quarterly meetings with all motorsport directors of all brands. So we discuss our strategy, and you know, also we find synergies. But also, as you see at Porsche and Audi, there is also a healthy competition where some of the brands are in the same events. So that works also pretty well.
So to that point, not to put you on the spot, but when I went to the Group Volkswagen site, I noticed a lot of brands that were there, the ones you mentioned. Bugatti, for example, is not. They don't race. But Porsche was not. What's the connection? How is Porsche working within this new group entity, please?
You know, Porsche is just from 1st of August. They are part of the group. So maybe when you look before, maybe the website is not on the actual status right now. But since August, Porsche is completely integrated into the group, like Audi, Bentley, Bugatti, Lamborghini are as well. So, and they are the latest member of the team, and therefore the integration takes a little time.
I get a sense that there's an element of the mechanicals, the engineering that matters to Volkswagen Motorsport. I don't want to put words in your mouth, and very production based. It seems. Tell me whether I'm right or wrong, quite frankly.
I think you're very right that for Volkswagen it's very important what kind of technology is in the motorsport activities and in the motorsport in the competition vehicles. And you see that group-wide. Yeah, I think that Porsche, the 911 is no question about it. Audi with TDI is also no question about it. And with Volkswagen, the Touareg and the Dakar was also clear, yeah, that the diesel technology that was in that race Touaregs is made it mostly into production diesel engines. And now with, you know, that Volkswagen will go with the Polo in the World Rally Championship from beginning of 13. And this is downsized direct injection engines, turbocharged. This is where the industry is going on the cars you can buy in the shops. in the dealerships. And this is also where the WRC goes with their regulations. So we show the highest engine technology, for example, in the World Rally car. And this is technology our customers can buy.
The Type R, the WRC program seems to be the focal point of Volkswagen Motorsport going forward. But you do other things, like I'm always fascinated with the F3 engines that you race against brands like Mercedes and Nissan and Honda. Tell me a little bit about, for everyone, the full breadth of what you're running over there at Volkswagen Motorsport.
Yeah, you know that Volkswagen is a global brand, and that's why the motorsport is global as well. Because the World Rally program, as you rightly said, is the key program for Volkswagen Motorsport in the upcoming years. This is the World Championship, and I think that is the oldest World Championship beside Formula One. So Formula One and rallying are the two main World Championships that the FIA runs and guides. That's therefore it needs a very high attention. It needs a very highly sophisticated engineering team, and also the marketing side will be very strong on that program. But as you mentioned as well, the Formula 3 engine is quite an important program for a couple of reasons. First is the teams need engines, and it's also engine technology, and we develop these engines. But we also see Formula 3 as the upcoming championship or formula for young drivers. And Volkswagen is not in Formula 1, and there is no intention to get into Formula 1, but the Formula 3 drivers go up the ladder, not necessarily in Formula 1. And you see it Audi as LMP1, Le Mans, Porsche in GT. There are a lot of opportunities for people who come through, and also these guys, the majority come through Formula 3. That's why Formula 3 is quite important for us, seen as a group activity, not just a Volkswagen brand activity. On the other side, as we are global, and I think you see, say, the target that Volkswagen has to be the largest car manufacturer by sales in 2018, that means that we have to have aggressive and huge growth rates in the developing and increasing areas. Yeah, these are the BRIC nations, and it is North America. And the BRIC, when China, of course, there is very important. So we have activities in China that coordinated through Volkswagen Motorsport, but also activities that are run by the joint ventures Volkswagen has there, as Motorsport is quite, say, very popular within the Volkswagen companies and with the joint ventures. So we run Scirocco Cup in China, and the One Make Cups for Volkswagen have a very long history, and you know that also in the US with the Jetta Cup, it has been there. So now we have a Scirocco Cup in Germany that is run with gas. So that Scirocco Cup in Germany is about 80% less CO2 than a normal car has, because we run with natural gas. In China, we run with a petrol engine, the gas engine, and this is a very prominent cup in China that's run very well, and it's quite like an entry level. It's not highly sophisticated, but then also in China you have the Carrera Cup, and you have the Lamborghini Trophy, and you have an Audi Cup, so that the teams in these countries like China can develop from an entry level of the Scirocco Cup up to really high sophisticated sports cars. Also in China, we support the team that runs the Polo in the Chinese Touring Car Championship, and we won the Drivers' Championship in that Chinese Touring Car Championship. And in India, we run a Polo Cup. So as the Polo is the main car for India, we developed with Volkswagen India, we developed a cup version of the Polo, and this is run very successfully in a One Make Cup in India. And then we have other activities, like very much engine activities. We support the Swedish Touring Car Championship. We support the National Rally Championship in South Africa with Super 2000. They run with the Polo. And as you see, that's very much global. And as you can see, that there is a lack in the US. So that's what we are thinking of and developing in the moment, a strategy, and say, how can motorsport support the car sales of the Volkswagen brand in the US.
Jost, not to turn this into a business meeting, but just curious, how do those national decisions get made? Are you managing that from the lead in the headquarters, or is it happening with the decision process in each country? Like when I see the Jettas running here in the US in various series, was that a US decision or a collaborative type call to action?
Now, in the past, it was very much regional or country driven. And we are in the process to align the activities more, so that we also have more synergies. Yeah? So that we support the regions, the countries in their interests, but also align them that they use technology that's already developed, so that we don't develop a special racing or competition vehicle for each country. So that we have a base technology with the various cars, and there we focus also on where the cars are on the market, where are they built, not going specific per country, but using the cars that are available in most of the countries, and then do the sport activities with those vehicles. And next year, in 2013, we celebrate 50 years of Volkswagen Motorsport, or Motorsport with Volkswagen, and it's actually started with the Formula V in the US. So you might see some nice activities in 2013 that is based around 50 years Formula V and Volkswagen Motorsport in the US.
Let's talk about WRC for a minute. Obviously, those who have been following know that you've been testing or pre-running, if you will, this year in a SKODA in S2000, getting ready for the Type R's debut. And there's no truth to the rumor, correct, that you paid Sebastian Loeb to retire and Ford to go away for next year, right? You're really focused on your program. You're not paying off the competition.
No, we would love to have competition. Yeah, I think we would nothing like more than beat Loeb in the Citroën. You know, if you get into WRC and you beat the guy who won the 9 consecutive championships with the same brand, then it is nothing better to beat them. And but we are sure that for 13 this is our learning year and our entry year. We think for sure in 13 it would be, I would say, nearly impossible. It would be a miracle if you can do that, as the team at Volkswagen has run the Dakar, so the whole team has to change. WRC is completely new for the team. It's a completely new car. The team had to change these activities, and they are widely different. It's like doing a marathon and then doing a 100-meter. That you need a lot of changes, and you need one season to get through all these changes and get them implemented.
So, not to take anything away from the stoutness of the competition, we know it will be tough next year. Without breaching confidentiality, what did you learn from running these WRC events with the SKODA and Auger and your team? What type of things did they learn that made it say, yes, this is what we need to do better to be in this different venue versus our experience at Dakar, as you mentioned?
Yeah, when you see the team, before the beginning of 2012, the team had never done a rally event. So, and you know, the rally event has its own rules, and there are things allowed, they are not allowed, and they are not naturally given. They are all according to the regulations. And when you are in the rally, it is very stressful. If you have the service, you have to exactly know who has to do what, and it's very much defined. Every single work someone is doing at the car is defined and has to be trained over and over again. And you can train that at home in a workshop, but this is an artificial environment. So there is nothing better, and I think it's crucial that the team learned the processes, learned what they are allowed to do with the SKODA in Super 2000. As the SKODA is a very well and really proper engineered rally car, that it's very reliable, you have no issues with them all year, that allowed the team to focus on the processes in WRC without focusing on developing and fixing a vehicle. And that, as this was the case, that allowed us in parallel doing the testing with the Polo. Yeah, so focusing the development engineering on the Polo through testing and getting the experience and running the WRC event with a reliable and easy to go car without engineering in the WRC events.
If I forced you to pick one or two things that the Polo does really, really well, I know it's a well-rounded race car, but if I forced you to pick one or two things that's really a focus point of why that Polo is going to perform, what one or two features would you pick?
One I would pick, it's a very solidly engineered car, the rally car, that is conservative and has the latest technology, but is no risk-taking in the technology.
Refresh my memory on WRC rules. Can you update the car as you wish through the season, or are there limitations to what you can or cannot do in terms of update?
There are very much limitations. You know, if you have an issue, you can use a choker, and you have a limited numbers of choker. But the car is homologated, and from that homologation, you can't do a lot. What is specific for this year is that they have always 3 years homologation periods. So homologation is valid for 3 years, and this 3 years period ends end of 13. So that means end of 13 for 14, there is a new opportunity to develop a new car. So that puts us in the situation that we could have quite a conservative engineered WRC car and focus this year on the engineering, see where we are competitive-wise, and then for sure it will be hard work to homologate the right vehicle, then the right Polo for WRC for the 14 season and then 15 and 16.
So last question on WRC. We all know motorsport is performance-driven, objective-driven. Would you be comfortable sharing what is the goal for 2014? Have you set any benchmarks of what we want to accomplish? I mean, is a win in the plan, or is it something less specific?
The targets for 13, what is the next season and our first season in WRC, is that towards the end of the season that we are in the position that we can get podium results, not based on luck or non-luck of us or others. So that in the real competition, we can get a top three result. Then for 14 is that under the same conditions, we can achieve one or the other win. So that that gives up to bring us in the position that in 15 we can run for the championship.
Let's move on to the group motorsport structure. You had mentioned earlier how the brands work through some type of committee or consensus. Again, without breaching the secrecy of that, take me through a little bit of how you, as the head of Volkswagen Motorsport, enter into that discussion and decision to get programs done. I mean, I'd love to believe it's not a boardroom, but you all get in race cars and do like a race of champions and the winner gets their program. But how does it really work? How do you get these decisions made for what brand should do what in motorsport?
I think there are a lot of the brands where they have tradition. And in Volkswagen, we believe that one of the success of the Volkswagen group in general is that the brands keep their identity and they have their own engineering. So it's, you know, Lamborghini is not engineered anywhere else but at Lamborghini. They can use the technology and everything that is in the brands, it is in the drawers, but they have their own identity and they have their own engineering. Yeah? And that is very important. And the same thing is then valid and is carried over for motorsport. So when you see that Porsche is a sports car manufacturer, they have been in prototype racing, in GT racing, all the history. So that is not changing. Yeah. And when you see that with Audi, they have now a history in Le Mans, and they are in touring car like DTM. So that is also not changing, even then Porsche and Audi are in competition at Le Mans. But this is, as they have their own identity and their own freedom, this competition can happen and will not be banned because you know, there is competition within the group.
How, in production car world, car product plans are multiple years out, 5, maybe sometimes longer, in terms of planning ahead. In motorsport, how far out do you plan where you are and where you want to be? For example, would you be able, do you know a 5-year plan for Volkswagen Motorsport right now?
Yeah, of course. I know a 5-year plan of Volkswagen Motorsport, and we are very much aligned with the plans of the production vehicles.
Let me ask the question this way. Hyundai announced that they are going into WRC and pull back all their American motorsport. For Volkswagen in the US, looking forward, should we be expecting maybe more Volkswagen Motorsport programs in the US, or more of a centralized plan?
No, I would say you could expect more motorsport activities specifically in the US.
Now the fans are going to hate me because I'm supposed to ask you exactly what are you talking about, but in that 5-year window, we should pay attention. Things could be happening.
Yes, yeah, I'm pretty sure that in this 5-year window, something very exciting is going to happen.
Well, feel free to add anything you want in terms of fenders or no fenders or production based or not.
Well, let's be it a surprise.
What criteria go into the decisions? For example, you mentioned tradition matters, production-based matters. Is there anything else that goes into the evaluation of the committee in terms of deciding this is a good program or not?
No, it's also the opportunities you have. The value for money has to be right. And motorsport is, of course, in competition to advertising and other ways where you can spend the money. So we also work a lot with the FIA and with authorities to keep the programs for reasonable budgets, because the return of investment is important too for these programs.
In our intro, we mentioned that your history and heritage in motorsport is pretty deep and broad. Besides the BMW and Porsche experience, Sauber F1, and were you co-driver at Dakar or Rally? Dakar, right?
Yeah, that was, I've been in the Dakar 4 times, one with a motorbike, one with a car, 2 times with a truck. And with the truck, with my father, we won the truck category in '85. And, that it was not a strict co-driver and driver. We both enjoyed driving, we both enjoyed co-driving, so we shared it.
Cool. If there's one thing you would change in racing to make racing better, in any definition of better, what is it that you'd look at?
I would say that the racing, especially based out of Europe, has to learn lessons from the US motorsport. And I think for me, having been based within Ford and being in charge of motorsport business development there in the US, I think I learned a lot. And that's where the German-based motorsport has to learn a lot to make the motorsport more, easy, accessible, more interesting in the modern media.
And I'll play devil's advocate because I can see maybe where we're going here. Talk to me a little bit about your sense of motorsport being entertainment and show versus still being true to sport and technology. Talk to me a little bit about your mindset there.
I think it needs both. And I do not think that to have a good entertainment and show necessarily takes away from the sport or from the technology or from the development there. I think if you combine both, you can have the perfect sports that is interesting for a wide range of people, because that's what the manufacturers need. They have to sell cars not to just car enthusiasts, but they have to get their message through that motorsport is supporting the development. And if you have a successful motorsport program where you get also technology proven and developed, but in a sporting environment where you are in competition with the same brands, where you are in competition in the showrooms, that shows you that if the improved safety in motorsports gives you an improved safety in your production car, if you improved emissions and fuel consumption in motorsport cars, because that's very important, especially on the weight side. If you can run with 5 liters less than somebody else, you've got 5 kilos less in the car, so you have an advantage. So efficiency is very important for motorsport, and this efficiency makes it into production vehicles. But this is still all developed and pushed in a competitive environment on the racetrack that makes the development so much quicker.
Well, my commentary is going to go here from that standpoint. Racing has always been about efficiency, whether it's, as you mentioned, lightweight or getting the most power out of an engine, not using all the fuel on the planet. Maybe there's a storytelling that needs to be reminded that racing has its roots in the type of things that matter right now to great production cars, but I've just gone commentary. Let's end with 2 last questions if I could. Whether it's Dakar or your Sauber F1 experience, talk to me a little bit about what you learned in those processes to get success that's applicable to either doing business or just organizing your life. Is there something in there that is a good lesson?
There are a couple of good lessons. I think the biggest lesson I learned was through the Dakar. And that is, it's life and motorsport. And I think if you start from the life experience is that the human being is very small. If you're in the desert, 600 kilometers around you, nothing than sand and nobody to help, and you rely on nature and you face nature, then you get, you know how small you are compared to nature and compared to the world. And if you haven't had an ego before, that ego is then definitely gone. From the motorsport side is, if you do a Dakar and like I did it we were with 2 trucks and 4 people, that was the entire team, and it went through 3 weeks and 15,000 kilometers, more than 10,000 miles. Then you learn everything aspect in motorsport. So you have to be a driver, a co-pilot, an organizer. You have to be a chef. You have to be the mechanic. Yeah, you have to be the refueler. You have to be the organizer to do the paperwork, the administration. You go through every single aspect that you can have in whatever motorsport category. And then you know what it needs, what kind of specialist it needs. And that combined with Formula One, where you need the absolute expert for every single job. I think that this combination is very unique. And if you had these 2 extremes, yeah, then I think you have a huge experience.
Here comes my last question. You're late for an airplane, getting to the airport. Which race car driver do you want to get to there on time?
Alan McNish. Alan is a longtime friend of mine, yeah. And I got him after his big accident when he recovered in the 90s. I got him in the Porsche Supercar,
okay,
and for 1 weekend, and then we got him into the Porsche team, and we are still very good friends since then. And whenever I have to go to Monte Carlo and land in Nice, he is my chauffeur. He comes from Monte Carlo, his home, picks me up from the airport, gets me home, and he does that on the way back too. He takes me to the airport, and it's always very safe and very entertaining too. And this is on coming Saturday. We have the presentation of our WRC team in Monte Carlo. So he can't pick me up at the airport because he is at the FIA celebration in Istanbul on Friday night. But he already said on Sunday he will take me back to the airport. So I'm very much looking forward to that.
I'm not playing Can You Top This. We've been lucky enough to meet Alan, and he is hell of a personality, but I'm convinced he's not Scottish. He's really Italian at heart. Tell him that. See you later.
I will tell him that, and he will love it, Leo, especially from you.
You take care. Thank you again for the time.
Leo, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and thanks for the time, for your time too.
Ciao, ciao.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Leo.
Thank you.